Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. And my name is Abhishek, and I am currently working as a software developer in some software company. In this video, I am gonna discuss how we can build our React application and take it to the production level using the uh, images, pipelines, and all, and how we can automate whole process from development to deployment using the Jenkins. So I'm going to give a brief introduction and core in-depth knowledge of how everything works. So first let me explain using this Xcolitro, and then I'll move on to my PPT slide and then explain it in a brief way. So okay, suppose first in order to understand the deployment process, first we need to know how the Docker works and how the images are built and what are called as the images. So suppose you have an operating system like your local machine, PC or laptop. So if your local computer which is in off state, like you turned off your own laptop, in case of Docker you call that a image. So your laptop has all the necessary packages installed in it, which are React, Node modules, everything installed, but you just turned off your laptop. So this is basically called as image in case of Docker. And what are the containers? Containers are nothing but when you turn on your system and you try to run the React using the npm run dev command, what it will do, this command will start your React application in some port, like you can say for example port number 5173. So this state is called as the active state, and your computer is on and you are running your React application in the port number 5173. So in the same happens in case of Docker container also. What it does is it takes your packaged image. So this is how the image will look like in case of normal system also. Like this image, inside it has all the packages and the base operating system, either it can be Linux or it can be Ubuntu. And what you will do is, using the with the help of Docker, you try to put these things in a container. Container is nothing but it is a running machine, like your system is on and it will start the same React application in a port which you specified the containers. This just a minute. This image will be turned into this container, and these containers are exposed to the port 5173. So this is how the Docker does the execution process. First it will let you build the images, and then you can run your images by putting them in a container, and you can expose to a specific port. So this is how the whole process will look like. Now let me give more brief about the things. Just a minute. Okay. So either you can make a you should have a system running which has the Docker installed in it, and you can able to connect it to the internet. Then either you can use your local machine, PC or laptop, it should have Docker installed. Then in that you can able to build a package version of React and Node modules. You can package them using the Docker into an image, or you can either have a server running in the cloud. Suppose say this is your server running in AWS or Azure or on premises in your company, like they must have owned some servers. In that also you can install the Docker packaged application. In that, on top of Docker you run some command which is nothing but docker build t. By this command you can able to build the image. What Docker does is it pulls all your React code into the Docker base operating system and all the necessary node modules required for it, and it will convert all this packaged version, like it will install all the necessary dependencies and it will convert it into a base image. So after that what you will do, you will take this base image and either you can push it to the Harbor, like Harbor and Docker Hub. These are nothing but suppose you commit a code to your local GitHub or local repo, then you will push it to GitHub, right? In the same way, you can push your images to the Harbor. So in order to maintain the version history and all, you can push to Docker Hub using Docker Hub or Harbor using the version tags. You can either, you must have seen some versions like 1.2.3 and version 1.3.3. What it does means it refers to a latest updated packaged version of your application. So this is nothing but we can call it as tag of the image also. What you does is after building a latest image, you give it the latest tag and push it to, either you can push it to Harbor or you can push it to Docker Hub. And after pushing to Harbor, right? Suppose you have purchased an on-premise cloud or a cloud server which has Kubernetes setup running in it, and it can also have multiple nodes and all. But for now, let's say this on-premise server is running Kubernetes. What it does is you will write some YAML files, YML files. In that you will mention your image name, and then you will specify your version in that YAML file. So what this Kubernetes does is it pulls out the latest image which you have mentioned in the YAML file, and it pull the images into this Kubernetes, and what it tries is it tries to spin up the pods. Pod is nothing but, you can say pod as a container as well. In the pod, what it does, it pulls your latest image, Kubernetes pulls your latest image and puts that latest image in the pods and runs. You can either run single pod or you can run multiple pods, and this pod will be exposed to a port which you have mentioned, like you can say 80, just a moment. Most of the servers run on port 80 or 443 for HTTPS. This port, your Kubernetes will do the deployment and it will export your application to this port, and all the public expose it to the public internet. Means everyone outside of your private network, VPN network, can able to access your application using that port. So this is how the whole build process will look like. But in order you to do all this process, first you have to run all these commands. You have to do npm run dev or npm run build the application into the dist folder. It will give a packaged build version, and then we will run docker build t command. You have to install docker and all, and you have to build the image, and you have to change the tag, and then you have to push it to Harbor using the docker push command, and then you have to uh, write all these YAMLs. Like you have to change the latest version of the YAML in the GitHub. You can either maintain a GitHub repo using the Helm chart. In that GitHub repo, whenever you changes something in the version tag of the GitHub, what it does is it will trigger the Argo CD using Helm chart. It will trigger the Argo CD, or you can trigger it manually using the Kubernetes command, which is nothing but I'll say kc kubectl apply f and your deployment dot YAML file. This you have to run, and then it will start triggering the deployment process. But this is too much manual work. Because of this, you might deployment might face some error prone, because you are writing all the code yourself, and if you are changing the tag by mistake, if you have put some different tag which is not the latest version, it might crash your deployment, and new bugs might arise in your deployment. So this is where the Jenkins comes into the play. So what it does is it automates all your build process from here. This whole process you can automate using the Jenkins. In Jenkins, what you does is you write the Groovy script. In that Groovy script, all these commands, whatever you are doing here, right? All these commands you can give it to Jenkins, and this kubectl command, whatever the commands, you will give all this command to Jenkins. So it will run all these steps in parallel. It means after one command is finished, then it will move on to next and next. You can put stages also, like for npm run dev you can put stage 1, and then for all the docker commands you can put stage 2. It will, what it does is it runs different stages. Even if one stage fails, it will stop all the next concurrent builds also, next concurrent stages also. This is the use of Jenkins, and you can also set up an email trigger. If something goes wrong in this Jenkins execution, right? If something in the build process fail, you can set up an email notification. What it does is, even if your build is successful or it fails, it will trigger an email event, and you will get a notification that something in the build process has failed, or whether if your deployment is successful, you will get a deployment successful email to your Gmail or Gmail account or Yahoo or some account. So this is how the whole process works, and this is how the Jenkins helps in the building the image to deploying it to the Kubernetes. After this is how the whole build process works, and after that now I'm going to give more depth about what happens when you run this steps docker build t, what it does in case of your React application. Let me tell you. So what docker does is, okay, before the docker also, let me give you a clarification of what is the cloud, which most of the terms you might have heard. What is a cloud, you might be wondering. Cloud is nothing but the you can suppose say this is a Azure cloud or AWS cloud or a Google cloud. What they does is, like company like Google, they have so many servers in their data centers. So what they does is, they'll give you, like by logging into their Google Cloud Console or Azure Console, they, if you purchase any VM or something, what they does is, they'll give you this laptop, you can say kind of laptop, but which has higher specifications and all, based on your amount of money you spend on the purchasing the VM, right? Based on that, they will spin up the servers in their local, in their data centers, and they'll give access to you, credentials to you, so that you can just a moment, when they give access to you like credentials and all, what you can do is, using that credentials, you can able to connect to that server and run the code arbitrarily. You can connect using the SSH protocol. Like what this SSH protocol does is, it will log you into the terminal. Mostly cloud providers give Linux, mostly they will use Linux operating system. You will get a Linux based terminal, and you can run your arbitrary code in that cloud servers, instead of running it on your system which has low specifications. You can run high end things and all in your cloud on-prem servers. So, and now let me say what docker build t command does. In case of, like, if you are running your React application in the local system, right, it will take up some space in order to you to build the run the packages, run the React application. You have to pull the node modules from the npm registry. In the same way, what docker does is, so in your system you have, you might say, suppose you have Windows operating system or Linux operating system, but in case of docker, right, it won't have like full-fledged operating system. You can either have full-fledged operating system, or like what it does is, it has something called as a base images. uh, these are base images are nothing but the images which have the operating system, like Alpine Linux, but it has only necessary components which is required to run the React application. It doesn't have any or libraries or C++ libraries, nothing like that. It has only libraries which is required to run the React application only. the the operating system size will be very very small, compared to, it will be in the size of MBs. So what your docker does is, it will pull the node.js Alpine image from the Docker hub. It will pull it into your local system, and then, or your local system wherever your docker is installed, either it's in your local system or it's in your on-prem server, it will pull the base image to there, and then on top of that, it will start installing the node modules, like all the node packages and all the React code. It will pull it into the base image, and then it will make a packaged version. It will make a packaged version of that base operating system. On top of that, your node modules, on top of that, your React code which is written, and it will convert it into this image. Then this image you will be pushing to either Harbor, or you will be pushing to Docker. Now I will be showing the PPT which I made for simple brief process. Now let's discuss a brief about what we have discussed in this whole video. I'll give a brief ending points like just a moment. So what did I discuss in the video? An image is nothing but a off state of your computer which has all the necessary dependencies involved to run some applications, or you can say games or your React code. They are all called applications, but they are in off state, but your computer is in off state. This is called an image in terms of Docker. And what is a container? Container is nothing but you just turn on your computer and then you start playing games or you run some applications. It is nothing called, it is called as a container in terms of Docker. So this is the brief explanation of the PPT. And the next thing is, let me explain what are the ports. Ports are nothing but your local system. You can expose your React application to the localhost 5173. It will only accessible inside your computer system, or you can expose to 8080. Jenkins will be exposed to port 8080. It will be only accessed in your system. Other people from outside cannot able to access it. But when you try to expose that port to the external system, there will be some commands to expose this externally using that external port, or your internal or external port might be different. You can export it to different port as well. Then people from outside can able to see your running application in that specific port. Same happens in case of the servers as well. These servers also you can expose it to port so that other people from the internet can access it. This is how you deploy your applications. So this is a brief explanation, and then now I'll show from the whole pipeline process. First, you in your local system or your on-prem server, you will write your code, React code, and install all the node module packages, and then using the Docker you will build the image. And then after building the image, you can either run it locally in the containers to check whether it's working fine or not, and then you can push that image to Harbor or Docker Hub. And then from Harbor, if you write the YAML files, then Kubernetes will start pulling the latest image from the Harbor, and either you can use Helm chat. Helm chat will trigger the Argo CD, and using Argo CD will trigger the Kubernetes, and it will pull the latest image from the Harbor and it will deploy your application. So this whole process you have to write all the commands to do these things. Then what happens? Who can automate all these tasks? That is nothing but the Jenkins. Jenkins can do the automation of all these tasks. You can write the Groovy script, and then using the Docker commands, it can able to run the Docker commands, Kubernetes commands, and then finish this whole pipeline instead of you manually triggering everything. That's it. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. In the coming videos, I'll be writing the code in the VS Code editor, and I'll be setting up the Jenkins and show you a basic demo of how everything works. Thank you.